show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's September 30th, 2021. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell. And it's game day, Canes fans, and a big one at that. With the Miami Hurricanes getting ready to host the Virginia Cavaliers at Hard Rock Stadium tonight. And Matt, it's all on the line tonight, really, for the Canes, for Manny Diaz. You never want to use those words must win, but it's a must win. Home game against Virginia, starting conference play, the Coastal. It's really the whole season is in a capsule right here tonight at Hard Rock.
Yeah, and I mean, what bothers me, is fans need to be behind Manny Diaz, believe it or not. Like, I know some fans are hoping he fails, nuclear reboot, and all this craziness. Here's what happens that these fans don't understand. If Manny doesn't turn this around and win all but maybe one or two of these ACC games, not only will the recruiting class fall apart, but what we've seen at other programs when this happens is these last two classes with studs, in my opinion, that I think can be really, really good. Some of those guys are going to transfer out. They're going to think, oh, the system may not work, whatever. And you better believe that some top programs are coming after these kids. These are not just your run-of-the-mill average kids nobody wants. So, Miami has to win tonight, period. If you're a Miami fan and you hate Manny Diaz, I don't care. You better be rooting for Manny Diaz because this program needs to succeed. A nuclear reboot will set this program back 5 to 10 years. Listen, I mean, I know that Manny's got some problems and he's maybe not the greatest coach in the world, but Miami fans need this. They need Miami to win. They need Miami to win convincingly and get this monkey off Manny's back. And then let's see in a couple of years, because in a couple of years, even, my whole thing is great players will overcome bad coaching. Larry Coker won a national championship. Okay. So I think the players they have the last two classes are really good. And I think they can get more really good players to fill missing pieces in the transfer portal. The team's not good right now. We know that. I've said it a million times, but it can be. If this doesn't work this year and they get rid of Manny and, the whole thing's a nuclear reboot and all new assistant coaches and players transfer out, you lose some of these recruits they got the last 2 years, the recruiting class falls apart. It's going to be a long haul, even for a Mario Cristobal, even if they somehow magically get Mario. I mean, it's not going to be a 1-year fix, not even be a 2-year fix. So Miami fans need to be pulling for Manny, regardless of some of these posts on the message boards that want him to fail. He's got to win.
Honestly, it's a catch-22 for the Canes fan. It really is. I mean, what do they grasp onto? Where's the glimmer of hope? Year one, you finish, losing to FIU, Louisiana Tech, Duke. Year two, you get blown out by North Carolina at home and lose to Oklahoma State in the bowl game. Year three, you start off, you get blown out by Alabama. You're not even competitive. And then you lose at home to Michigan State after almost losing home to Appalachian State. There's nothing for the Canes fan to latch onto and build their emotions on. And that's why we see this gamut of emoting going on amongst the Canes fans. And listen, you win tonight, you win impressively, you start to turn the tide a little bit. It's not going to be the end-all be-all. It's still a very average Virginia team that's coming into Hard Rock tonight. But at least it's something to build off of. And then you go to North Carolina, and that's your next opportunity. And that's really all Manny can do right now. Take them one game at a time. I mean, they've lost the last 4 games against reasonable competition. That's not a recipe to keep your job at Miami. I mean, it just isn't. So, you kind of could see the justification of people being upset. At the same time, they are 4 games into a 12-game season right now, and it really all starts tonight. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens at Hard Rock this evening.
And listen, I'm not saying that Manny should keep his job if they lose to Virginia and North Carolina. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is Miami fans who want Manny gone should not be rooting for that. They should be rooting for this team to start showing some signs of progress and start beating Virginia, beating North Carolina. Maybe you're going to lose to Pittsburgh and lose another one along the way. Maybe you're not winning the ACC Coastal. You might with 2 losses in the ACC. I don't know. But I think a 2-loss ACC season with the young guys we saw on display last weekend, I think there would be signs of hope for maybe not next year, but maybe 2 years down the road, that they would be very competitive at the top of the ACC. Whereas if there's a full nuclear reboot, I just don't think that hope's going to be there. I think a lot of these kids would leave, and you're going to be winding up with probably a 35-person class instead of a 10-person class, and it's just going to be all new players, and it takes a while.
There's a lot of it. There's so many variables in there. I mean, you can't really say, I don't think. I mean, who replaces them? What do they bring to the table? What recruits do they bring to the table? Who have they been looking at? I mean, there's just so many.
It's a concern regardless. I mean,
anything's a concern.
Look what happened to Michigan State. I mean, everyone left. Like, this is the new college football. Your coach who recruited you that you're buddies with is fired. Oh, well, there's, Oregon wants me, Florida wants me. Why would I stay here? I know what their system is. I know their coach is already from recruiting me for 3 years. I don't know who Miami's going to hire, whatever it is. Sometimes the assistant coaches aren't hired until January or February. So, it's just going to be, it's going to be really tricky if Manny doesn't make this work. And this, like I said, on the previous Good Morning CaneSport, this is the biggest game of his coaching career, because if they lose to Virginia,
everything that's happened in the past is irrelevant.
There's no recovery from losing to Virginia. In my opinion, there's just
no. I agree. I totally agree. And the thing is, tonight when that ball's kicked off, everything that's happened in the past will be irrelevant. It's all about what happens on the field tonight. So, Matt, we all week we've been building up to this game. We've had the countdown, the kickoff show, and we've had stories on Virginia. The one thing's obvious: Virginia quarterback Brennan Armstrong stopping him is obviously the key to this game for Miami, because he's capable. He's shown against pretty much everybody he's played this year that he can put up big numbers. They got more receiving threats on that sideline than they've had in recent memory. And it's an offense that can really hurt you if you're not on your game defensively. So that's going to be the key. If Miami's going to be playing almost certainly with the young freshman quarterbacks, and it's going to be hard to get into a shootout and feel good about it. Like, Miami's defense is going to have to show up and do some things tonight. And that'll be an interesting subplot to this game. All right. We've got a ton of coverage this morning to get you ready for the game. We've had the other stories I mentioned, the countdown, the kickoff show. If you haven't watched that, go back and take a look at that. It's on our YouTube channel. You'll also be able to find the link on CaneSport.com. We had a Virginia preview also this week, and today we bring you 5 burning questions that need to be answered in the game, as well as a Jim Martz column talking about the opportunity being right in front of Miami with a wide open ACC conference with no team, not even Clemson, looking like they're capable of grabbing hold of things this year. And Miami's right there with everybody. I mean, it's kind of like everybody in a pack. And that's an opportunity for a Canes team that does have weapons and does have players that can do things if they can pull it all together. So Jim Martz takes a look at those prospects. We also revisit with Tyreek Stevenson. You saw his blog earlier in the week. We revisit with him a little bit more. He tells us that the defense understands the task at hand that they're facing tonight, and elaborates a little bit on that. And we also visit with Zion Nelson, who brings you the perspective from the Canes offensive line, which obviously, if the game does evolve into a shootout tonight, they're going to need the offensive line to perform well so that they can keep up with Virginia's offense. We also throw a little recruiting story in there for you on 2023 defensive end, David Ogaibi, I guess he pronounces his name. Boy, we got some tough names in recruiting this year, Matt, to mention. He's from Washington, D.C., He's a defensive end. The Canes offered him this month, and we catch up with him and see what he's thinking about Miami. So we've kind of talked it out. There's not much more to say going into the game, Matt. Huge night at Hard Rock. Hopefully the fans turn out. They're honoring Howard Schnellenberger, which, that'll probably produce a few tears in the stands. Howard meant so much to this Miami program, taking it from nothing to the first national title. And as you know, he passed away recently. So he'll be honored tonight. And Canes, Virginia, game on, baby. And we'll be back to slice it and dice it up tomorrow, all weekend, and just see where the Canes stand coming out of this ACC opener. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you for joining us on Good Morning CaneSport. We'll see you at the stadium tonight, everybody.